you obviously get a lot of these pitches, having been to a lot of these events. What do you think is like the ultimate marker for success in the charity?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, so we'll get into effective altruism in a minute, but I think like the first way to think is that we are a marketplace, right? So we have these committees that go out, identify the organizations. The organizations we give them a criteria, which we think are things that they should think about when they're selecting the organizations. Some of those things that include in the criteria are, how effective is this organization in terms of like, how is it measuring its impact? What would the donation of $10,000 do for this organization in terms of making a meaningful contribution to the work that it does, right? So if it's a $5 million of revenue, it's not going to be material, right? Whereas a small organization, where would the funding go towards? How does that leverage the pathways that this organization is naturally on? So we give these criteria to our committees to consider when they're evaluating the organizations. Some of that's been slightly influenced by effective altruism and thinking about like really impactful giving, but we're not here to play God, right?
Okay.
So we go out, we say to the committees, you go out, find the 3 charities. They then bring the charities on the night. They bring their friends, so they're a reflection of the social issues that they care about. And then the community decide where they want to allocate their capital, right? So we create that marketplace. And then ultimately, we're allowing the community to decide where they think the organizations are, whether they want to give their money. Now, I'm very conscious of that we're effectively here at the outset to provide the marketplace to do that. I haven't gone to the point yet in our evolution. We may decide to think about going there, where we say these guys are the best, they're the most effective for these reasons, right? Now, that's what an effective altruist would do. But we're not here at the outset to play God or to say to you or to anyone else, this is the best charity you can support. We're just here to say we're identifying groups that we think are really effective. They're early stage social purpose organizations. Here's the issue that they're solving for. We're connecting you with them. You make the decision.
So in a way, you see yourself as almost being agnostic around anything that may exist for the evaluation of it. You just want the community to worry about that.
Well, not completely agnostic. We've designed a framework which we give to our committees, as I said. And so that informs the decisions because we have a role in playing and informing the committees about the things they need to be thinking about. But yeah, I'm not here to tell you or anyone else who the most effective charity, social purpose organization is in Australia. I think I've got a really unique mechanism to identify who they are and bring them into a marketplace. But the market should decide who the most effective is, not me.
Do you see that unique mechanism as IP, or are you very, very outward about what that may be, having done it, spoken about it in previous podcasts, or is it something that you hold dear for the groups that end up forming a committee and proceeding with 10 by 10?
And how do you mean in terms of what the criteria should be?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, there's an education piece around this, right? About like, well, what are the things? So one of the things that I hate, I think one of the questions you were going to ask, like one of the questions I hate this question. And one of your readers take this away as being the number one thing you should not ask a charity when you first meet them is what percentage of the overheads go to the field? It's like such an irrelevant question, right? Because you could have a charity that's got 50% overheads, which in your mind is like a scarily high number. With the 50% they're giving away, they're incredibly effective. They're saving multiples of thousands of lives, right? Because they're hiring great people, they've got great teams, systems, and processes. The same things we'd want from a business, right? Yet we have another charity who may add 10% of its overhead costs, like a fantastic charity, only 10%, 90% going to the field. But with the 90% that's given away, they're wholly ineffective, right? So the metrics we should be thinking about when we're evaluating charities is not what it costs to run them or that's an input, right? But what is the impact they're generating from the money that they're distributing, right? And that is the metric through which we should hold the organizations that we give our money to accountable. And that is what I'm like. So if that, for example, is a way of thinking that I'm trying to instill in our generation to change the way we think about charity, because I think a whole bunch of the reasons we think about charity, that we thought about charity is wrong. Also, I feel like there are way too many charities that are totally ineffective. I'm right. And so that probably exists, whereas a commercial business wouldn't, right? Because they're like not for profit and they're charity and people feel like responsibility to keep them going, but they're wholly ineffective at solving their problem, right? And I also feel like there's this aversion to backing charities that fail. Well, why are we allowing businesses to fail and not and don't hold social purpose organizations out to the same account. And so I think there needs to be a change in the way we think about the types of organizations we support to change the culture around them. And I think part of the role that 10 by 10 plays is informing the committees that go out and choose those charities of those things that we think should change around the way we think about, charitable giving and philanthropy.
So do you think the majority of that evaluation is qualitative or quantitative? Do you think it's a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis. I mean, I was talking to one of our donors yesterday, and it's like the way in which you evaluate a organization in the world of work with disability services in terms of their impact is completely different to how you think about one working in the area of, domestic violence, right? And so the metrics through which you evaluate the organizations, are different. And so I think that takes a nuanced approach to understanding what the impacts are of one against the other. And we try and reflect a cross-section of social issues that we try and support in the work that we do.